Friends, fam, thank you for stopping by. This is Dallas with a talking video today. Mostly, we might have some playing examples and some things in here, and it might end up turning into a little longer video than I wanted, but I want my top 10 tips for beginners, and I'm not going to even try to hide what I'm doing here. I am going off of my cheat sheet here, okay? Because I kind like practical, like real world, like learn the names of the strings type of suggestions for if you were just starting out, if you're brand new to guitar. So cool, let's just dive right in so that we can try to keep this shorter. I'm gonna be putting stuff on the screen if there's any tabs or notes or different things for me to put on the screen. So we'll just get into this here and take them one by one. So first is the musical alphabet, okay? If you don't know anything else, know what notes exist in the universe, okay? So, in other words, just like you speak and use letters in the alphabet to write words, there is a musical alphabet, and it's A through G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And most of those notes, other than B and E, have a sharp, meaning a note in between them. So, in other words, there's A, and then there's a note between A and B, and that note is called either A sharp or B flat, depending on the context. Sharp means raised 1 degree, flat means lowered 1 degree, okay? So, know your musical alphabet and learn it. Learn it. It's A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. Oh, I'm sorry, G, back to G. And then starts over again. Oh, G sharp, and then back to A. Okay, so in other words, there's only 12 notes in existence, and then they just keep repeating each other. Okay, so learn the musical alphabet and what notes exist. That's going to be step number one. Other people might tell you some other things first, but I think if you don't know what notes are in existence in the universe, that you're really working behind the 8 ball here. So tip number 2 is learn the names of your strings. Okay, so once you know all the notes that there are, you'll notice that you have 6 strings on your guitar, and each one of those strings is a different note. So learn what notes they are. The notes that your strings are E, A, D, G, B, and E. If you notice, you have 2 E's. Okay? Tip number 3 is learn some open chords. Okay? So I've done a video on open chords that I call them cowboy chords, and they are your chords that are all up here in your first position. All those chords, right? So learn all of those chords. I would say that's like the first playable thing you should be working on, okay? The next playable thing you should be working on, in my eyes, would be the pentatonic scale. And that's just taking a major scale that would usually be 8 notes, 7 and then a repeated. That's your typical do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And you're going to remove some of those to make it a 5-note scale and just go. Okay, now the reason I'm saying to learn these first is because they're real easy on the fingers. They're very symmetrical. They're very easy to internalize and learn. So if you're beginning, learn just one of those skills. You don't have to learn it in every position on the whole fretboard, but just learn it, almost dropping stuff. Just learn it here on the 3rd fret. Just learn it there, work on that, and drill it, and then once you know your G chord, combine that with some of these notes. Okay? Now, the next thing I would do from there, see if you could learn a tune. Listen to some tunes you like, and maybe even look a couple up on the internet and see if any of them are just 1, 2, 3 chords that are maybe chords you've learned in those open chords. Maybe you look it up and it's just C major and D major in that song. And you're like, I know those 2 chords. And then maybe later on a G major pops up and you're like, I know that chord too. So go ahead, and if you can find any tunes like that, especially ones that you really know well because you've internalized them, so you know the rhythm and the tempo and the feel and all that is just ingrained in you, right? So see if you can do that. It's going to be helpful. And two, it gives you when you're new and you're learning this stuff, it's like really dry, right? So it gives you something that's a little bit fun. So next, what I would do is work on changing chords, which is going to kind of coincide with learning those open position cowboy chords, as well as coinciding with learning a tune. You're going to want to be able to move from each chord smoothly. So you don't want, if it's C to D, you don't want to have to search for your D, like, you know, you don't want to have to do that. You want to just, you want to be able to switch smoothly. So practice it in time as we've gone over. I'm going to do a whole video on this concept, so don't worry. In fact, each one of these I'll probably do a whole video on, but I want to give you just these tips to go off of. All right, next is go over your picking, okay? And you want to go over playing single notes, so you could just go 1, 2, 3, 4 on each string. And it doesn't matter even where you do this. You could do... Okay, it doesn't matter. You can do it up here, you can do it down here, wherever. Now, the important part is practice this a couple ways. Try just going down, and then try going down and up. Right? So you want to try different ways to pick. And then that parlays into my next tip. You have to make sure all notes are clear. If you have... That's not good. You don't want to have any of those notes that, you know, that are you know, muted or you can't hear them clearly. Next, I would say is you'd probably be at that point ready to try to learn the major scale. You know, the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, which is just those 7 notes, but you probably want to learn it in a full position, which is going to be 2 octaves. Right? So I would say you're probably about there. Then once you're there, you're probably also ready to start working on bar chords, which are going to be chords that aren't necessarily major or minor, right? So if you see a G major or minor come up, you could play that, which is just essentially just these 2 notes. But that's like the most rock and roll thing ever, and every cowboy should know those. I should have put this first, you guys. I forgot to mention. Tune your guitar and make sure you know how to tune your guitar. Make sure it's in tune. Make sure you're practicing the in tune. You want to make sure that you're internalizing the correct pitches, okay? Next, you want to be able to read tablature and basic guitar music, okay? And, you know, when I tap things out on the screen, if you'll notice if you're new, that it goes up, it's upside down, right? So like this string, this low string is on the bottom of the tab. Next up is this string, your A string, right? As we go up, and it goes down on the guitar. So just make sure you're conscious of that and that you're not playing things upside down. And so if you were to see this as your C chord, you're gonna see 3, 2, 1, but you're gonna see those going up on the lines, right? So if you do, and you do this, you're real quick gonna go, you should go, oh, that doesn't sound right. Oh, okay, that sounds right. So just make sure you're not reading them upside down. And then with that, learn how to read the tabs. The numbers just on the lines just indicate what fret you're gonna be on, okay? Next is you got to work on your easy definitions. So when you talk to a seasoned musician, they're going to say things that are just going to go right over your head, like referring to intervals, referring to tempos, referring to just, it can be anything, okay? This list is endless, right? Know what these words mean. You have to know what these words mean. If I'm talking to you about harmony and you just think of harmony as like a group of singers and you don't really understand the definition of that word, we're gonna run into problems, right? So you gotta understand what all of these words mean on a deep level, not just you know, not just, I mean, society has our culture, right? Someone says everyone knows what a scale is, kinda. Do you really know what a scale is? Okay, so these are the things I'm talking about. You want to really understand these ideas, okay, and not just like, you know, your basic, what I would call common knowledge version of them, right? Oh, what a pretty melody. You'll hear anybody say that, but you need to look into what melody really is. And all of these things, tempo, melody, intervals, scales, the list goes on and on and on. This is arpeggios. This is probably a list of about 30 terms that I would make. Crescendo. Do you know what I mean, you probably have no idea what a crescendo is, right? So just staccato, legato. I mean, this list is endless, and all these words are very important because they all mean something, and they all are referring to things that you need to know what they are. I guess that's the only way to put it. I'm not articulating myself well today, you guys. I'm doing my videos a little later today, guys. I took a nap. I'm a little off. Where's my coffee? I don't even know where my coffee's at. Okay, so next is your timing. You want to make sure that you have an understanding and a feel for tempo and the difference between tempo and feel. Okay, a great example is there's a lot of funk that people will dance to that is 70 beats per minute. It is not fast, but man, does it move you, right? So just learn about tempo, learn how that is incorporated into feel and groove and how they work together and what tempo is, I guess, which is really just speed, but work on your time is what I'm getting at there. I think that brings us kind of to the end where I just want to say make sure that you're practicing consistently. That's number one, okay? If you put in an hour on the weekend and then never touch it again, you're not probably going to get real far. But if you put in 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes a day, you're going to get real far, real fast, okay? Also, getting some basic gear, like having a guitar strap, having a good cable, having some picks, even if you're not using a pick at first. Get a couple picks. Get a thin one, get a thick one. See which one you like better. Just these little things, right? And then also, too, make sure you are, like, especially when you're starting out, like, you'll see me, like, especially for these videos, I'm sitting on this stool in a way that I would probably never sit when performing. Literally ever. I would never play this way performing. I cannot maximize this is not the correct posture for me to maximize my playing. I'm a stander. I play my best when I'm standing up. So find what that is for you. Whatever it is, don't let it be this, right? But whether that's sitting, standing, but make sure that you have a good posture and that your wrist, it's really about your wrist and your hand, and you want to be able to move them in a way that lets you access whatever you need to access without getting too uncomfortable from a left hand position. So I think that's about it, guys. I mean, I have really, really rambled on this one, but I knew that I would. I mean, I was making this big, long list. I think I made it a top 10 list with like 15 tips on it, but whatever. We're not judging around here, right? We're kind people around here. Anyway, those are some tips if you are just picking up the instrument and you just kind of don't know where to start. Here's a good place to start. And I tried to kind of go through them in the order that I would do them as well, as far as like kind of not order of importance, but just kind of like math, like what comes next, right? Cool. I've rambled on enough. You guys know how much I don't love to talk, but man, when I'm on one, man, I'm on one. No, I'm just playing. All right, guys, I love y'all. Like, subscribe, share. I'll see you on the flip. Later.